We're going to have a conversation, and we welcome everyone that's here joining us today. I'm going to start with, if you don't mind, Twink. If, celebrating our 20th year, there were things that were happening way before we opened our doors. And I just wonder if you might share a little bit of what that was like in terms of how the dream of Gilda's Club got started.
Sure. Well, one Sunday morning, I was watching TV and I saw a phenomenal interview of Gene Wilder and Joanna Bull. And Joanna was Gilda Radner's therapist, and Gene Wilder was her husband. And her wishes had been to establish a free cancer support, social and emotional support organization, which they were then starting in New York. So I sent for a packet, which was about this thick, and I read it over carefully and then put it on my shelf in my office and said, okay, well, maybe next year. And so next year came and I thought, it's time, it is time. So I wrote letters to the CEOs of the 3 major hospitals and received, because I didn't want it to be a conflict of interest. And I received wonderful letters back from them. None of them had any issues with our concept or our idea. And in fact, one of them even offered office space, which was only beyond what we were even that point. But we thanked them very graciously. And then one evening I was at a gathering and Susan was there. And I thought, I think I'll ask Susan what she's up to these days. So I did. And she and told her what my idea was. And she said, yeah, I think this could be really something I would get behind. And then we talked about Deb Bailey, because we were all cancer survivors. And so she talked to Deb, and then we started meeting. And then we began to gather a group, a small group to test it by. And the group expanded and became a small board that was not really even official, but we would be meeting around dining room tables and discussing all the possible people that we needed to have involved, including attorneys and all the different support that would have a passion for what our passion was. And so that gradually morphed into a more formal board, and our first office actually did turn out to be in the basement of NBD at that point, the bank building downtown. And I think Susan can take it from there.
Thank you, Twink. Susan, what would you add to those early days of bringing people together, and what inspired you to get involved other than Twink encouraging
Other
you?
than Twink, yeah. Well, it had been 10 years since my diagnosis, and I was leading a pretty normal life at that point. 2 kids, I was working involved in community, but this project just absolutely stopped me in my tracks, because what I looked at and saw and thought was, when I had breast cancer, which I was 37 at the time, pretty young, I had wonderful medical care, and I had great friends and warm and loving family, but there was no place to go to be with other people who were going through the same thing, who really could say, I understand, and mean it. So this is what Gilda's Club was all about, is people who are sharing the same experience, whether the person with cancer or a family member or dear friend or something, that to be able to get together and learn and help each other. And it just, I just said, we need to have this because this is what was missing. So I jumped in, Deb jumped in pretty soon. Like Twink said, we had a steering committee, and it was a really hardworking committee because we were doing everything. I mean, if a lawyer came on our board, which it was Kathy Fochman, now Kathy Main, she got her 501c3. I mean, it was really a working group who were really very, very dedicated and very inspiring. So.
Wonderful. Thank you, Susan. And Denise, your sister Deb Bailey was one of the threesome here, the fearsome threesome that really helped to get Gilda's club going. And as I shared earlier, Deb once said to me that Twink could bring people together. Susan was great at the organization, and she would say, you know, Deb, was the mouth to put behind the work. How would you describe Deb's involvement, and why was getting Gilda's club off the ground personally important to her?
Well, Deb was the mouth behind it. And, you know, she was very proud of that fact. And, you know, she's the oldest in the family, so she was the mouth in the family also. So we as a family, you know, had a lot of humor and jokes together. But one thing that we have been through is cancer. And it started with me when I was 27. A year later, my brother when he was 30, and then followed Deb. And we felt the same thing that Susan felt, was that there was no place for us to go. And to have that support of the community, and that's where Deb, you know, even pulled us in before the walls went up, and we could write on the 2x4s messages to the people that entered the building, and the love and the support and the spirit of healing in that place. And to be able to provide that to the community was so important to my sister, because we didn't feel that as siblings. And a sense of humor. Gilda had humor, and so did our family have humor. I mean, they teased me incessantly about my wig, how bad it was. But what can you do? You know, you just kind of forge forward, and that's what Deb was about. It was about connecting the community. And for everybody that's visited Gilda's Club, there's a driveway that goes to Union High School right across the street. Right as you enter, if you turned into Gilda's, or you turn the other way, you turn into Union High School, where there was a house there, and that was the house that my mother brought her home as a newborn baby.
Oh,
So
I didn't know
that, and they torn the house down for the driveway. But Deb said every time that she turned into Gilda's, and she knew turning the other way, she would have been going home to the home that she was brought home from the hospital.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, just we're West Side people. My brother, even though he lives in Fort Wayne, he still considers himself West Side. And my little sister graduated from Union, and Deb and John from West Catholic. So we're West Side people that have a heart for what Gilda's does, because we know how much it's impacted families like ourselves.
Beautiful. Whew, you gave me goosebumps, Denise, as well. And you know, I want to add a little here. Before some of you came on, we have so many friends that are on right now. And so thank you, everybody that's tuned in. I see people that are all across the United States that had a hand or have supported us along these 20 years. We have received an email message this weekend, too, from Joanna Bull, who was
nice.
Oh, wow.
I know.
No.
So Joanna Bull sent a message of congratulations for our 20th anniversary. She said, I hope people there remember me. And I sent her a message. I said, of course.
Of course. Of course.
This morning I was on the radio with Michael Radner, Gilda's brother. And Michael said something so beautiful. He said, you know, 20 years is beautiful. And he said, but 20 is not the important number. He says it's the thousands and thousands of people that have been impacted by cancer, and that Gilda's Club Grand Rapids has had the honor and the ability to walk alongside of. So congratulations from Michael Radner as well. I know for the three of you, and for the many of you that are on here that had a hand, or directly or indirectly, and in either starting us or sustaining us, it's really hard to give a full appreciation for what years of effort and collaboration that resulted here. What are some of your favorite little memories or I want to say behind the scenes things that really stand out to you, or things that that you might want people to know that we haven't touched on yet?
Well, I can answer one, and that is that a lot of people don't know that the Bridge Street house wasn't our first house. We had zeroed in on one of those great big mansions downtown, a lumber baron type mansion, right across from Channel 8. And we were in love with this house. It just had a lot of character. We just thought it'd be great to be downtown. And I started working with an architect on how are we going to put
Oops.
accommodate the taste. But the big issue we had to do was get a zoning change because of parking. And we just assumed, of course, they're going to vote yes, because this is such a good cause. I mean, we believed in it. We thought everybody would. Well, the neighbors didn't. They had a lot of objections about the parking problems that we potentially could cause. And as it turned out, we would have caused a lot of parking problems. So we didn't get the variance, the zoning change or whatever it was called. And we had kind of a little slump there for about 2 or 3 weeks. And then Jamie Starner showed up at a meeting and said, I think I found the right house. And out we trooped to look at it on Bridge Street. And the farmhouse, which originally was a farmhouse with an apple orchard, had been turned into a retirement home for the Franciscan monks. And so it was a very different character, and we had that vision to see that it would work. But we did, the whole team did. But we learned from that number one, let's get the neighbors all involved. Let's make sure all the neighbors are on this, and they've been wonderfully supportive. We had them in right from the get-go and any kind of decision making. So that's my little bit of behind the scenes.
Beautiful. Twink, anything you'd like to add to that? I know
Well, I wish we could let all the people know who were part of all the pieces that came together to make this happen. And because there's so many, and to name some would be, missing a whole lot of others. But I think I was really struck by this group, the steering committee group, that had such passion and such energy, and it was all about connecting. We talked to Dr. I'm trying to think of his name, who is a pediatric oncologist, Alan Campbell. We talked to all kinds of people. And then we began to talk and pull in another group of people to expand into the Children's Grief Program and into Noogie Land. And they were incredibly helpful with programming. Beth probably will remember that part. And so we kept already thinking forward, going forward, and now the organization is just amazing.
amazing.
And my sister used to always say that it wasn't just the house that was built by the people that were involved in it, but it was really about the community and how the community really came together to do, the interiors and everything. And she would always say, this was a house the community built. And
so true, so
yeah,
true.
It would always she'd touch her heart when she would say that.
Say that.
Yeah.
And then a very important contribution was the idea of including the farmhouse. And Peter Wegge made that happen. And that added to our abilities to hold all kinds of meetings and parties and board meetings and just a variety. And of course, today it's used for multiple things. And that really brought the project together to be able to have that additional space.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Beautiful. I know Leanne Arkema, the first CEO for Gilda's Club, would share with me some stories and of bringing everyone together, and Peter Wegge's role in helping to make that farmhouse, which is the gathering space, and when we're physically open, where we gather for meals as well. And I think what I hear from the three of you is just such, I want to say, just the purposefulness that was put into every element that became this clubhouse. And it's not just the space, it's what happens in here in the framework of this. They called it the stud party. I found some pictures
Oh.
of all the messages
And
that were
lovely notes.
before they put up the drywalls. There was such a purposefulness of it. And we're so fortunate to sit here on about 6 acres in a residential community, only a couple of miles away from everything, some of the best medical care in our backyard. And I can't thank the three of you enough for being present, and everyone that's tuned in. I would not be following Deb's wishes if I weren't to put in here a little message that, you know, the three founders, really, the time, talent, and the passion that you invested in this bold vision, and the community support that came together really helped to sustain us over the 20 years in fulfilling our mission. And we also have an opportunity here for people to help sustain us into the future. Peter C. and Emma Jean Cook Foundation actually put up a $20,000 match. And we invite people, if you are so inspired, to feel free to invest in our future and help us meet the match. I saw a couple of chats come through. I think it was a Barbara who mentioned being here at the ribbon cutting. There are so many precious moments, and when we are able to physically gather, if you've not been here before, this is your formal invitation to come at 1806 Bridge Street Northwest and see what this beautiful place is all about. I know some people might have to drop off at the call, but I want to, for those that are able to stay with us, to give Twink, Susan, and Denise here an opportunity to share more memories, and to give those that are listening, if you wanted to put any questions in the chat, we're happy to answer any of those for you as well. So 3 cheers to, oh, Barbara, thank you. 3 cheers to the steering committee, as she says. Any other memories or stories from you ladies that you'd like to share as well?
Well, I have one.
There's so many. There's
Yeah.
so many. I
I have-
remember.
Oh,
Go ahead, Susan.
No, you go ahead.
No, you go.
All right. Okay. So we mentioned Joanna Boland, just to be clear that everybody knows she was Gilda's therapist, and she really believed in this concept of people helping each other. And at the very beginning, there were meetings in New York for people groups that wanted to start Gilda's Club. And she had a rule that you had to have at least 2 people come. Well, it didn't work out in our situation. I was the only one who was able to go, and I got to New York, and she really gave me a hard time in the meeting about how we really need to have 2 people. We need to know you're committed, and you both listen to different things. And so I'm listening as hard as I can. I'll do as good as I can. So, we went back and we developed, at the time, the largest club. I think now Texas is bigger, and we had developed ours as quickly, if not faster, than some of the others. So when we had our opening party, I got up and I said something about, I was introducing her, and I said, well, I want you to know all these people. They weren't at that meeting in the beginning, but here they are now. And we had the clubhouse filled with people. And she just smiled and was so very happy about that we really had a strong community support. So that's one of my fun memories.
Yeah, she was a character.
She was, yeah.
She is.
So, Twink,
I'm sorry. I was going to say I had a question come in too. That was a question from Deb, who was asking, what was the most challenging obstacle that you had to overcome?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, we had a lot of obstacles, but everybody stepped, like we didn't have an office. We couldn't afford office space, and that was offered to us. We had one part-time helper, and then I'm trying to think, after that office space, did we go right from there to Gilda's Club, or did we have yet another office space, Susan?
Boy, I'm not remember. I think we were at the bank for quite a while.
Yeah, and
Until
we
we could
made,
get a space
and
in
the
office.
janitor became really good friends of ours
Yeah.
at the bank. And but we were very successful, and there had been a group that had thought they were going to do this, and they had trouble getting it off the ground, and we were able to get them to be inclusive and come on board with us. Deb and I met with a gal who was very passionate about children and grieving, and she had started to do something on her own also, but she became a support of what we were doing and made valuable contributions. Yes, it was just amazing day by day, the kinds of people that turned up to help. And we had Kurt Hasberger from Rockford Construction, who was incredibly, oh, there, we have another, where's my Gilda's dog? He's under the dining room table right now where all my exercise equipment is at the moment. Yeah, and we just had a lot of fun doing this, even though we had no idea what we were doing.
You know,
It was all new, and so we learned step by step. And
it really was a vision, and it was, someone once said to me, sometimes you have to let go of one trapeze bar before you grab the other and hope the safety net is pretty strong. And
yeah,
Punky, who was such a part of the framework in this organization, she put out there, one obstacle was just trying to explain this brand new concept and to potential funders. And I want to just say thank you. There's so many people on here. Punky, who was so involved in that early fundraising, Leslie Hardovick, who was like probably, I'm guessing, one of the very first volunteers that just was here. I know Judy Bariza and Carol Veely and all different folks that have tuned in today. Jim Hessman, who was a former board member here, also worked very closely with Deb Bailey at Steelcase. But we're getting some really great comments here. Sue Ann Clark said she was an early member as a breast cancer patient and visited even prior to the official opening date.
Wow.
So
and yesterday I had a friend shovel my front walk who did all the legal work and for our organization. So I thanked him profusely, Don Gardner. And so I really wished I had an opportunity to thank individually all of these people who made it possible.
Yeah. Well, I know the Amish say many hands make light work, and I don't know if that's true about this heavy lift here, but I have to say, if there's anything that represents what we try to do here at Gilda's Club, and that is provide a community of emotional and social support, I think what came together with the vision of Twink, Susan, and Deb, and the collective embrace of this whole community, this is proof positive that community means everything, and community is stronger than cancer in so many ways.
Yeah.
Any other closing comments from anyone here? Laughing School, I'm looking at all these great little comments coming through here. Just beautiful. Twink, Susan, Denise, anything you want to share as we aim to wrap up here with our guests?
I'd just like to thank everybody for coming and showing the interest, and do look for that donate button.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
please.
And I
That's
know that,
probably when you talk about the challenges, it's because we don't charge, you know.
Right.
and I know Deb's up in heaven, just looking down, very pleased as far as the people that attended today and the continued support of Gilda's Club. Because it's a mission that is well-deserved for everything that it does for the community. And thank you to Twink and Susan and Wendy for the work that you do.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. And I have
Brings tears to my eyes.
Good.
Yeah, it's been a hard year for so many, and I just want to also give a nod to our incredible staff here. There are some of them that are on this call with us, and I'll tell you, it is, I think I can speak for all by saying it is truly an honor and a privilege to be able to walk alongside of people during some of life's toughest chapters. And thank you to the community for giving us the honor and the opportunity to serve so many, thousands and thousands over the 20 years, and thousands of more to come. So with that, I want to thank once again Twink, Susan, and Denise. Thanks to all of you for tuning in. And feel free to share your stories through Facebook, through the many ways that you wish to share that information. We look at today as only the kickoff for our 20-year anniversary. So we're going to hopefully have some additional conversations to come. I'm reaching out to Joanna Bull. Maybe we'll get her on one of these conversations as well. So with that, I just want to say a note of appreciation, and I hope all of you can stay warm on this cold day, because you sure warmed our hearts.
Oh, that's nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.